it's you and me.
Okay, yep,
Cheryl is in Maine, so.
yep, all right,
Do we need to arm wrestle on the chairmanship, or?
it's all you.
Oh,
Will now be recorded.
Thanks. It being 4 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock, we're opening the Selectmen's meeting tonight. Meeting House. We got some accounts payable, we got appointments with Howie and Lenore Howe. We got some minutes, we got some new business, old business. Are you doing anything here tonight other than just kibitzing? or-
No, I'm with Community Power tonight.
Oh, you are, okay,
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Good. You met him, so you got his name.
I have everybody's names.
Okay. And Barbara Bird, I see that's on there, okay.
Yep.
Okay, what's up first?
Start off with the accounts payable, sign those,
Yep,
couple of
that's
things.
what these are?
Yep, do we
Always.
need to move that even?
Yeah, so,
So I'll move it.
yeah,
Do we
Second?
have,
that was a thank you card that somebody sent, I'm
Oh,
not sure
cool.
who.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Some pictures of, obviously Memorial Day.
Cool. What do we do with these type of things?
We'll put it in the office up there and
That's
put it so
cool.
the public can see it.
We ought to identify as many people in the back as we could while somebody's got a brain in their head, huh?
So somebody remembers who it is, right?
Yeah.
We can do that. Yeah, the manifests are in there.
cool.
Oh, Scott, could you sign that
Yes,
certificate?
I actually Tuesday stopped in looking for you, but you weren't there. I met a cleaning lady though, who was very nice.
Robin?
Yeah.
Robin Preedy?
Yep. All right, let me make sure, yep, that works.
Yes, I apologize, I made a mistake on the middle initial, so.
Oh, gotcha, I wondered what it was, cause
Yeah.
I looked at it and didn't see it.
Yeah, that's the middle initial was
Yeah.
incorrect.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if you can just read off the amount
Yep,
Yeah.
for
you
the
got it?
Yep.
accounts payable manifest.
So, we have a manifest here for, $492,386.81 for manifest.
That's the accounts payable.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
So moved?
Second.
All right,
Did you do that, or?
that's it,
Okay,
All right,
that's it. That includes the school payment, that's why it's so high.
okay.
So 300 and something thousand.
Does look big, doesn't it?
And then there's a payroll manifest underneath that one.
okay. Here, actually, I'll do that one. I'll start signing this one.
So this is the amount down at the bottom
Yep.
here? Okay. We have a payroll manifest for $57,959.71.
So moved?
You wanna do the minutes next? These on the
Yeah.
way?
All right. Do you want these?
Yeah, I'll take those.
Okay.
Minutes, did you get a chance
I
to read
did.
them over?
Yes, and I didn't see anything, that we should collect, or correct, so,
What,
It was
since this-
one,
There's one correction, line
The one you sent out.
155.
right?
It's utility
auction.
auction, not accounting.
Got it. Yep.
Any other edits you want?
So I'm still on the back here, right? I talked to you about taking these out.
Yep.
How do we do that, or do we need to?
So we can,
You can just say that now if you want, or not do it in the next one.
So my take on minutes like this is the shorter, sort of the better, but I don't want them leaving all kinds of detail out.
right,
And I know that's a difficult thing,
Yeah.
but talking about dates in points of time, I don't think is beneficial to the public to really know it, and we're gonna be forgetting it because next month we're gonna see the same thing,
right,
right?
Yeah.
So I would leave that kind of thing out of it.
okay, alright. We can leave it in.
What do you think about it?
We can leave it in for tonight, these minutes, or we can just, you can ask to have it deleted. It's up to you.
We can leave it in.
So we'll leave it in this
This-
one
this
and then
last
just
bit
rotate
is-
to the
I see
next
what
one.
you're
It's just points in time,
Yeah.
and, we're gonna see the same thing next month,
Yeah.
the month after.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean much to anybody but us, probably.
Right.
The only change I had was on line 176. Scott made a motion to approve the private minutes, and it should be the executive session minutes.
Yep.
Ah,
And then on line 77, I have, the sentence starts, they would like to receive the stipend once a year instead each month. We should
Oh, it's
insert
an
of. Insert of in there.
Yep.
That was all I had.
Nice job.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you're gonna post these up on our website?
Yeah, I'm gonna remove the line numbers from
Yeah.
the final copy, and I will post them on the website and on the bulletin boards.
And we need a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Make a motion, move the minutes as amended.
I'll second. Alright.
What's next?
Do you wanna start with some new business, or,
Yeah,
alright?
gutters on the meeting house and Sam Lake House.
Yes, we got some estimates.
Okay,
We're hoping to get another one. We've had one.
you got them for both buildings?
Yeah, we said, you know what, why don't we, while we're getting estimates, let's get them for both buildings.
So, the only thing I would suggest you check on is whether you can put gutters on a slate
Slate
roof
roof,
like
and
that.
that's what we talked to them.
Oh, you
We
did,
talked to them
okay.
about that.
What'd they say?
And they said, depending on where you want the gutters, they can put brakes on the slate, things like that. We just figured, you know what, give us an idea and we'll see.
I
These
don't
prices don't include brakes, but it depends on what, if we have a specific area, where we wanna put gutters, we figured, well, why not, we'll give it an estimate for it.
Okay,
I don't know that it needs it, but we thought it doesn't cost anything to get an estimate for it, so let's ask.
so my observation on that would be that it's a slate roof, which means it unloads when it's ready to.
Mhm.
And I think that's a potential danger to our public walking along the side of that building.
And that's why you can put brakes on it.
That's why, yeah, so I think if we're gonna do something, I would prefer the brakes over the gutters at this point, but both of them probably, if that's.
Okay, alright. Well,
Makes sense.
we can just look at the gutters, the cost, for gutters for this building. So we got one estimate, and this is, aluminum, form installed gutters on all eaves, approximately 134 linear feet, all size. Install approximately 4 to 6 down spouts and connections as needed. Labor and material, $3,300. And then we have another one, we have, it's $2,100 without covers and $3,800 with covers, if we wanna put covers on them.
This is for leaves.
Yes, the gutter covers.
Yeah.
The first one was not, didn't, have include, covers.
Oh, for more, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's, $3,300 without covers.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and this Gutter Brothers of Pittsfield was, 38 with covers or 21 without covers.
Well, one piece.
One piece, yeah, yep.
So what's happening here, I don't know if you've looked at the siding on the outside, but it's hardy plank.
Okay, yep.
And that does not like to be in direct rain contact, so when the gutters are dumping on it, it's shedding its outer skin, and if you look at it out here, it's denuded almost,
Okay.
it's
Look
just
on
back
the
to
way out.
material.
Wow.
Right here.
Both
Okay.
sides, and it also is doing it on this back corner back
Okay.
there, so. I think we've got to preventively do something like
Yeah.
that, or we're gonna be, I mean, this building is what, 12, no,
That's gonna be,
20 years?
Well, they did this the same time they did the whole center.
Right.
The middle school building's almost 20 years old.
yeah.
And I suppose we could do it, just replace the clapboards every 20 years, but to me, it's always a problem of finding somebody to do any of those things, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other thing we got to think about, I think we can just drop it out here because it's gonna be right into the library porch if we do that. So I think we need to bring that across or do something to it underground, I don't know, and empty it out into the parking lot as far as we can get it.
What's out here, where's the septic?
No, the septic for these three buildings, so
Yeah.
this one, that one,
Yeah.
and the town hall are behind the vehicles over there.
Oh, okay, oh, that's right, I've seen the,
There's
yeah,
a tank and a pump
Yeah.
tank right here, right in front of us,
okay,
in the ground.
yeah,
There's the propane tank, and then the septic and the pump station are there.
yeah,
And this building and the library empty into the pump station, and
gotcha,
it's pumped over to the
Yeah.
leach bed at the town hall.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, so,
yeah. I mean, I think, it sounds like we need to do something, so,
do we have the money? That's gonna be,
yeah,
Not in this budget, no.
so we're gonna put it in for next year?
I would say that would be the thing to do, is, yeah.
If you can pencil that in from
Yeah.
us, I
Yep.
think that's what we'd like.
Yep. All right.
yeah, I certainly, I know the cost of re-siding is gonna be,
Well, the problem, the thing about it is that there's no reason for that, right? If we take care of it, it'll last the
Exactly.
lifetime of the building. HVAC incentives.
Yeah, let's see, where are my notes? We got, for installing the mini split here and up at the fire station, we got, let's see, we got $950 from Unitil. So, $591.67 for here and $358.33 from the municipal building. They have a program where you can apply when you install these, or you can apply and
yeah,
they give you incentives towards it, so
And
I took
where
care of
does that go, Ken?
That goes into the general fund.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
any money, unless it's, unless it is for the enterprise fund, which is at the
Yeah,
transfer station, goes into the general fund.
okay,
So, we would, we can show in the town report, when you have the lines,
Yeah.
we can show there's an offset there, or put an asterisk, like in I guess last year's town report. If you look down, like in the fire department budget, I think it was under new equipment, spent a bunch of money on turnout gear.
Yeah.
But there's an asterisk there, and if you go to the back page, the last page of the budget, there's an asterisk down there and explains there's a grant for
Yeah.
offsetting those funds.
Yeah.
So, it's shown in the, town report.
Yeah.
In the budget, someplace where there's money
Yeah.
that was received.
yeah,
Um,
that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, and as part of, like the money we got for the baler from,
Yeah.
New Hampshire Beautiful, part of that grant is that we, make note in the town report that money was received.
Gotcha,
So,
yeah,
that's what we try to do.
yeah,
Is that called out in the line as you go down through it, or is it?
Yep, it's line by line, and typically there'll be an asterisk next to one line that shows that, you know, when you go to the last page of the budget, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, or how many are asterisks, and
Yeah.
it'll show that. And if we know ahead of time, we can show there's an offset, there's a line in the budget which shows an offset. So like the healthcare, we do all the math ahead of time, and it'll show an offset for the healthcare contributions from the
Yeah.
employees.
Okay. What happened to our waste oil at the transfer station? Again,
So we, I was notified last week that, the company that we usually have come haul our waste oil away came to do it and found quite a bit of water in the tank. So we don't know how it got in there, why it got in there, what happened, but they wouldn't take it. So we called Clean Harbors, they're gonna come Thursday and pump it out. It'll probably be a couple $1,000. So,
and what's it normally? We get paid for it?
the oil, they take it for nothing.
For nothing,
Yeah.
so it's gonna cost us $2,000.
Yeah. So, the road agent directed the transfer station employees put a padlock on the cover, make sure it's closed all the time and locked, and to inspect the oil before they dump it in.
Yeah.
Right.
Are there tests that they need to take on it, or is it?
So, we looked into, after the last event, we looked into, because it was contaminated with, antifreeze, and we tried to get test kits, but they're not sold commercially, or it's not something that you can test 5 gallons at a time. apparently the expense is too much. It's a 400-gallon tank, and so by the time we tested, and if we found out that it was, you know, contaminated, then we'd have to spend the money to, so instead we're saying inspect the tank, the oil before you dump it in.
Yeah.
And if it's questionable at all, if it doesn't just look like regular motor oil, then don't dump it in.
Yeah.
And we'll haul 5 gallons away instead of 400,
Yeah.
so.
Two
Or
questions.
save it up,
Right,
it's a 55-gallon drums, and when we get a couple full, then we'll haul that away.
yeah.
So,
How big is the tank?
it's 400 gallons.
That's the one that's to the left.
To the left as you
Yeah.
drive in,
Yep,
it's like a dome-shaped yellow tank.
yep.
Uh,
And how often have
so-
we been emptying it?
It's, well, when it gets full.
Yeah, okay.
And when they came in November, Clean Harbors pumped it very dry.
Yep.
And then our guys started dumping waste oil.
Yep, so roughly
But-
7 months then.
But the cover hadn't been locked, so if the cars are sitting in line, or somebody pulls around the side and decides to dump some in,
Yeah.
whatever, or somebody gets up there during off hours and we don't know,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell.
Yep,
So the cover's gonna lock on it now.
yeah,
It's a double-walled poly tank, so it's not like it's groundwater getting in there.
yeah, yeah, that,
Well, it's not under an eave or anything else?
No,
dumped
no.
on it.
No, so,
Just a short thing I can throw in here about this solid waste, we're thinking about all these things and we're trying to figure this thing out. One of the things that I think interests the group is having the town employees on one side of the wall and the public on the other, so that you actually pass your waste across a wall into a bin or whatever it happens to be, and they dispose of it, so we don't have this problem, waste oil hopefully, and
yeah.
other things that are going on up there, so, I don't know. It's a long ways from being finished, unfortunately. Do we wanna stop and, are you folks all here?
are you,
We're
everybody,
ready when you are.
Okay,
We
yeah.
don't need to rush you.
might as well.
Yeah,
Alright. Well, I'm happy to be here and thanking you for giving us an opportunity to share this all with you. I sent you all a lot of information.
Yep.
But I'm gonna go over it quickly and I'm probably gonna talk too fast, but don't be afraid to stop me and ask questions,
Yeah.
okay? Alright, so, well, for a while, I've been keeping track of two big pieces of legislation, the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. And watching, waiting really for the tons of money to start flowing down from those. And it's about ready to happen. I've been wondering, while I've been going to webinars and reading about these, how can Canterbury get its share? And I haven't seen any easy answer to that until I went to the New Hampshire Municipal Association webinar about the CTAP program. And as I learned about it, I kept thinking, boy, this sounds like it's tailor-made for Canterbury. So basically the webinar was about CTAP, which is a brand new pilot program that they're gonna put on. They understand that all municipalities are gonna need help with this because it's so huge. But especially the little communities, because they don't have the expertise or the time to go through and create good proposals. So they are starting this program specifically for small communities. They're gonna choose 10 as a pilot project. If it's successful in the 10, they'll then spread it to whatever members of NHMA are interested. But it's going to be chosen, the projects are gonna be chosen based on, well, priority actually is gonna be given to communities that are underserved currently or low income. And of course, we probably don't qualify in that way, but we're also in the smallest category of community. We don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm assuming that there won't be a ton of other communities applying. It'll be completely free to the 10 communities in the program, and it's gonna be run by an outside consultant called Arnett Development Group. Don't know really anything about this group. The kind of technical assistance, though, that they're gonna be offering is, in the beginning, they're gonna do coaching with whoever's gonna be developing the proposal. and try to put all of their ideas into some sort of priority. And maybe we'll have multiple ideas that would go for multiple projects down the road, but we might need help with that. Then they're gonna choose the one that's the high priority, and they're gonna go find specific funding sources for that project. Then they'll help develop a compelling story about the project that they know will appeal to the funding sources. I mean, it's like they do everything, or help us do everything, I should say. Once we get that far, then they're actually gonna help us develop the proposal to create a narrative that's engaging, produce budgets, develop any kinds of metrics and evaluation tools that will be expected as the project goes on, and then make sure that we've met all the requirements for a successful proposal. It sounds like if we do this, whatever we propose will most likely get the money.
So, should I interrupt here and ask, what kind of things are we talking about getting money for?
Well, I'm gonna go through the 3 applications that we've put together, but let me finish just shortly what I've got left to say about this. There's not a lot else to say about the project at this point, but it's really designed to teach communities like Canterbury how to do this on their own down the road, so that we don't do a project and then everybody goes home and we don't know how to do it again. So I'm gonna be very interested in talking with the consultant, if we get into the program, about how do we do this in a small town? Do we write into all of our proposals some small amount of money to begin thinking about a part-time grant writer? Or do we develop a committee of maybe 3 people who will learn how to do this, and they have rotating terms so that there's always somebody in town that knows a lot about this? Anyway, that's gonna be one of my main goals, is to find out how we do that. All right, the only other thing is the deadline is Wednesday, so we went ahead and we developed these 3 ideas. Yeah, you know, there's not much time, but it wasn't from the beginning. As a matter of fact, there wasn't much, and I thought, what's the point? We'll never do this, but we've done it, so. Okay, so the first project that we put together, and they're very brief, there's no detail at all in them, is to develop a community solar array, maybe 1 or more solar arrays, but develop enough solar power to power all of Canterbury. And along with that part will be, the part of the proposal will be to place storage batteries in every residence or business that is interested. And the sort of mini microgrid that we could create would help ameliorate some of the effects of our constant power outages. I mean, we've had a few bad ones last winter. So that's project number 1. Number 2 is to electrify the town vehicles. The reason this is even in the works, or in the mix, is that I went to another webinar, I've done a lot of them, where another town in New Hampshire, and I don't know which town, replaced all of their police cars, police vehicles, with EVs. And they did this about 2 years ago, before any of this money was available. And they found that they were saving about $5,000 per vehicle per year. And I thought, well, that's a no-brainer. If we could do that in Canterbury, it would make it down in our budget, it'd be nice. So that's number 2. Oh, in addition to the cars or vehicles, we would also put the highest level charging station you could get at the municipal complex, and maybe others in the town, wherever we decided they were most useful. Maybe here in the center, maybe at Shaker Village, I don't know. But it would be for tourists and also for residents who need a place to plug in. All right. Oh,
Kelly's here.
Sure.
Why
okay.
don't you come
Hi.
up here?
Okay.
I'm going to introduce this and turn it over to Kelly. Tim Mee, who's on our Canterbury Community Power Committee, and Kelly Short developed this application. And this is having to do with the preservation of the big piece of land. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Webinar. Okay, I wasn't expecting to be presenting, but
Well,
it's fun.
fair for you.
Yeah. In a nutshell, I can give you guys this
Here, Kelly.
better map than.
Yeah, this is good. This is better than what I had.
Yeah. Thanks. All right.
So,
I tried to get this to you on Friday, but it wasn't that organized. So, 120-acre property, talked to Five Rivers Conservation Trust about the possibility of doing a conservation easement on the property. And the Conservation Commission had just committed to do a different 400-acre project. And they both would have needed LCHIP funding, and we didn't want to propose two LCHIP projects in 1 year, so we said we had to wait on that. So when this opportunity came up, and to be frank, I'm not clear how well aligned the available federal money is with this kind of forest conservation, if it is. So it just seemed like we should put this opportunity forward. So it would be a conservation easement, it would remain private land, it would continue to be harvested, but it would protect the water resources there. And really, I mean, this map tells the story. If you look at that map, the green shaded pieces are all already conserved properties, and this parcel divides them. If we were able to protect it, conserve it, it would then pull together a total of 1,965 acres of conserved land adjacent, which is pretty significant opportunity for the town. You know, and it's the classic. A good portion of it has high value wildlife habitat ranked by Fish and Game. It's productive forest land. What else is special? It's got good water resources on it. And I think, though I'm not positive, that maybe I shouldn't even say it, never mind. I think there might be water quality issues with the brook. That's what I was thinking, but I should verify whether that's the case or not.
So this is mostly on the west side of Shaker Road.
Correct. No, the east side.
Yeah.
East side.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the map so I can read the names, right?
Right.
So I'm looking, that's the west up here, right? And I got it backwards.
You've got it.
I think the top where it says Canterbury is north.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
So, I think you can enter this property off of, is it Ayers Road that angles off of
It
Shaker?
is Ayers Road.
Ayers.
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Asby Road.
No.
Asby.
Asby.
Ames, Asbury, and Ayers, I get them confused all the
Yes.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like I said, I don't know how well the available federal funds align with this type of conservation, but be happy to find out if they do.
We don't know anything about that. All right, so what we need from you tonight is some idea about whether you think this is a good program for us to apply to. That's number one. Number two is which of these projects you think would be most beneficial to Canterbury. And number three is whose name do we put on the application, because I think it really should be one of the select board members and not the Canterbury Community Power Committee member. We need to show commitment of the town.
So is this gonna be like a new committee, is what you're suggesting, or?
We're nowhere with that, we haven't even talked about that. Canterbury Community Power is kind of going to be looking for a new mission.
Yeah.
We've very successfully completed our
Yeah.
mission, and, we get things done. So it might morph into a committee that would do this work. We haven't gone there, Howard and I have kicked around some ideas on that, but that's as far as we've gotten.
Yeah.
So if we give you our blessing or whatever you're looking for tonight, is that gonna move this process along, or is it push you towards forming a committee with people that are taking responsibility and all that on this?
I think it will, but, we haven't met as a group
Right.
since the first
Yeah.
mention of this
Yeah,
project. So it would take a bit of a meeting to kind of go over that, but certainly there will be people from that group
Okay.
who will step forward, whether it's a new committee or just continuation of the CC.
right. I
CC.
mean, I have huge gratitude and confidence in that group. I was
I do too,
very impressed, so.
yeah, I do too.
So I have a question, I
Sure.
guess maybe a couple questions,
Sure.
a few comments. Do you have anybody has experience writing grants for these projects?
It's ancient. I worked for a period of time for a group that did this
Mhm.
to get federal money.
Okay.
We're talking
Right.
40 years ago,
Oh,
but I know how to write a grant.
yeah.
It's not that
yeah.
ancient.
It was ancient to me. So,
Little
you know,
dust, that's all.
And I guess, we have been fortunate enough to receive several grants in the past several years.
mhm,
One thing I will say about federal grants and all grants, is that, as you say, it's not just, write it, apply, get the money, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
We just were notified that a grant that we received in 2019 was finally closed.
yeah,
And it was quarterly reporting, so there's a process to these, that continues on long after we receive the
that's
money.
right.
The other thing that I'll say, I guess the solar field one, I think is a great idea. The only problem that I have, that the town is encountering right now is, we received a grant to install the solar panels up here at the municipal building. Right now, we have I'm not sure of the technical term, but a group of the panels up here that is, their production has dropped almost to completely to zero. We also have a bunch of the panels up at the municipal building that are in ground fault, and we can't find anybody to work on them.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking at it for a long term,
Right,
that, you know, it's great that we go after these grants, get money to get these projects started, but there's a continuation along the line, and, I've talked to 3 different companies about working on our solar panels, trying to figure out what's going on. We had a local electrician check the wiring, and the wiring's fine, between here and the panels, but nobody wants to touch them. They didn't install them, they don't wanna work on them.
well, that was,
And that's,
yeah,
and I've asked anybody that the building inspector talked to several of the companies that have been installing them in Canterbury, and they've all just said, nope, sorry, we're not gonna work on them. Like, well, listen to the town, come on.
The company
Nope.
that did is gone?
yeah.
Pardon me?
The company that installed them originally is gone, or?
So
It
that
was-
was Bob Drew.
It was Bob Drew and
Brother
Scott
Scott.
Russell, yeah. And, I mean, there it is, that was an installation.
Yeah.
I don't know that Bob works on solar panels anymore.
And he's retiring.
He's retiring.
Yeah, and that's, you know, so,
How old are they, Ken?
pardon me?
How old are the panels?
20 years probably.
Not almost 20 years, but they were done after the municipal building, everything.
Yeah,
So probably 15
Yeah,
years.
too soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, all the other panels are working great, but there's one group that's up here that is, the production's fallen way off. And then the same thing up there, we have 3, I'm not sure arrays or what you call them, we have 3 different panels up in the building up there, and one of the panels is in ground fault. And again, we can't find anybody to come out and even look at it, so. And that's, not to try and discourage anybody, but I just wanted to make sure that, the town knows what it's getting into when we apply and receive these grants. It is a long-term commitment,
It is.
and, you know, I've applied and gotten grants and been involved, particularly with the fire department grants up there. The fire chief and myself and Lieutenant Nelson and Evan Hopman spent about 2 full days with a grant writer that we hired for $1,500 a year to put together the last grant for the fire truck. There's a lot involved, as I'm sure you know if you've done this in the
There's a lot
past.
involved.
Can I ask a question? It hadn't occurred to me before, but I know from where I work that we get significant federal funding, and the financing of that is all on a reimbursement basis.
Mhm.
And you have to lay out the money first and then put in the request and you get reimbursed.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about that. Is that the same when they deal with municipalities?
Yes, for the most part,
And-
yeah.
So if we had a large project, does that mean we have to have a bond in order to lay out the advance dollars, or?
Depending on, depending on what the cost was and everything, but the warrant article with fire truck is a perfect example. In the years past, and the breathing apparatus that we got, the warrant article is read that we would expend the money if the grant was received. If the grant wasn't received, then we would expend no money.
Right,
And that would have to be similar, but we would have to make sure that we have enough money up front to pay for whatever the project is.
yeah.
And it would probably require taking a bond, depending on, again, on how much it is.
Right.
Kelly, for you, what do you estimate would be the cost?
I can lower the estimate I put in here, I think, got some additional information, so I'm now saying $475 to $550 total. We wouldn't be looking for that big a grant, we'd be, looking for LCHIP money to match it, and
Yeah.
we have the Moose Play program, and of course we have the Conservation Fund that gives us some dollars to put down right away as the match, which of course they require. So, I don't know, maybe 200,000 from them, federal?
Yeah. And I think, you know, for me, there's a couple of attractive things, which is this would have a beginning and an end, which I think makes it fairly attractive.
Do you guys hold the paper on that, or how does that work?
Well, that's another thing that occurred to me late after I had sent you the project. We have in recent years, much preferred to have Five Rivers Conservation Trust or the Forest Society or a state agency hold the easement, because they're professionals, they know how to do it. Then we pay them a stewardship fee, which goes in, you know, it's a permanent fund, so that they can afford to do the annual monitoring and follow up on any problems, and that means the town doesn't have to deal with the legal issues or whatever if they come up. So that's been our preference, but it did, not knowing what fund we would be requesting from, it's possible that that a federal grant, federal monies might require that the town at least be there's a word for it, be the backup, there's a better word for it, but have an
Encumbered?
interest, sorry?
Encumbered?
No, that's not their word either, but basically we would have an interest and the right to enforce, but we would be secondary.
Understood.
So, but again, since I don't know what fund we're
Yeah.
applying for, I don't know what the loopholes might be, but
Yeah.
that could be an issue that would make this project not match for federal
Yeah.
money.
So, when I think about all the things that Ken's talked about, I wonder if it's not something you almost need to set up a business to run the thing as opposed to the town. Because I don't wanna impose on my administrator to do any more
You mean a business to run the solar?
to run the solar, so he can't find somebody to service it. Well, a business I'm sure could and would, right, because that's their job, and their job is predicated on supplying power, or however we measure it in the end.
Well, it occurs to me that that would be something that would have to be worked out through the proposal development process. Because I don't know, I can't answer that up front. I don't know what we're dealing with. The other thing to remember about these three projects and any others, that if we were to have your approval to apply for one of these, all of the others could be coming along as the group learns how to do this. So it's not like we're saying, okay, this is the only project we can do, whatever we choose. So with that in mind, I think we have to be looking at what would give the town the most appropriate return for the amount of effort it's gonna take, and it's gonna take some effort. I mean, I think our group is gonna be working quite a bit if we do one of the.
Lenore,
Yes.
I wanna ask, about the discussion we had about this the other day, which is, whether or not the select board could decide to let you, under the guise of either one of the select board or the town administrator, apply for all three of these.
Well,
And
yes,
see what floats to the top.
well,
The other thing I'll say is,
yeah,
and this goes to your point, Ken, and apply for money with no obligation to the town unless we decide to follow through with something.
I see it as a training program, kind of.
Yeah.
That's what they call it too.
But back to the idea of submitting all three, you know, I called NHMA and talked with them about that, and they said, well, you can submit as many as you want, as long as you substantiate the application, which I think we've done adequately. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that gives NHMA the final decision about what we're gonna do. And I'm not sure I like that. I'd almost rather choose one that we all agree is high priority and submit that, but that's just my personal feeling, and I could use some of your advice about that.
Yeah.
It's a strategy, I don't know.
I would think that the municipal association would look for among these three, look for the one that they think is the best match for the available funding, the one
That's what I was just gonna say,
most
Kelly.
likely to
Yeah,
actually get funded,
No,
If
that's-
they have some kind of,
criteria.
ideas of the money that are coming through, and what's available. I sat in on a Central Hampshire Planning Commission meeting, with Loudon and Pittsfield. They're on broadband expansion, and they have hired, a consultant to help them with this. And this consulting firm out of Maine, this is what they do. Their only business is assisting municipalities on expanding broadband. It's a very focused business model. And so they understand and they know what monies are out there and how to try and get them. And that might be something that NHMA with this training program might have a better idea on. I've read a lot of the information that's coming out of the federal government on these, and there's booklets of this thing that are just, it's like, where do you start, you know?
It's absurd.
So, having a training program like this by the NHMA is a good idea. And maybe if they have this consulting firm that has done a lot of the background and legwork on it, they would have a better idea on
Well, they
what's,
would.
yeah.
During the webinar, they discussed what was going to be the way they chose the towns. And they have their agenda is that they want this to be successful, and they wanna have 10 small towns with a really good mix. So if 3 towns come in with a solar project, they're not gonna want it, they'll pick one. So that's their agenda, but it's not based on what funding is available. They talked about, I mean, this is just staggering.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, it's like, and this is only money available for rural and tribal communities.
Right.
This is not all
Right.
of it, but you know, this is what they're looking at, and they're saying, oh my God, you know, there's stuff available
Yeah.
for whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I think their strategy is to come up with a good mix, and if we were to choose one and submit the application, and we don't fall into that mix, then we just shot ourselves in the foot. So I don't know, I could use, you know, what do you think the strategy?
That seems to argue for giving them all three.
You think so?
And letting them say, this seems like it has good match within the program and is different from other projects going
Sure.
forward.
Okay,
That's where I landed this, Kelly, too, yeah.
I doubt
So-
any other community would be saying 3, but that's okay.
Well, so Canterbury actually got this solar field, as I understand it, from Tyson, who was the selectman at the time,
Yeah,
by applying for 2 different locations where that was gonna be put in, so we could demonstrate that we could add to it later.
yeah,
To me, that's just crazy backwards, right?
yeah.
Why do you take the nicest place in town and put your solar panels there when they could have done something on the roof or somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Right,
Yeah,
put them
right.
both together instead of splitting your services. The solar thing fascinates me because I think a battery in every house would be the nuts, right? There's a utility over in Vermont that does this, I don't know if you've researched them at
No, I
all.
don't, that's good to know.
Yeah, they have been doing it for quite a while, so it must have been successful for them. I think they were putting Tesla power walls in.
They were, a friend of mine has 2 in his house,
Yeah.
courtesy of that company.
They're doing it in New Hampshire too.
Oh, no kidding.
Liberty up in Lebanon is
easier to
Yeah.
have it like that.
Yeah,
You can always call on the power when you need it. I think that's what they do in Vermont, they actually
Mm.
manipulate your computer or whatever, so you send some power
Hmm.
back.
no kidding,
Yeah.
wow.
Anyways,
So how do we decide, do we put all three in, do you think, you all agree that's the way to go?
I like that idea.
I
Okay.
do,
Yeah.
I'm concerned about this one only in the sense that it doesn't seem very exotic. And I think that's
Hmm.
what you're gonna sort of be looking for on these things, right? Who can put an electric fire truck in town, right? I'd like to see the Packer up at the dump be electrified. That would be a really cool thing for me, right? Instead of us sitting there idling all day, it just sits there on battery power, and you drive it over and bring it back and plug it in, and you're all set to go the next time. But,
I guess I look at this as, this might be unique amongst all of the other applications.
you don't think anybody else is gonna looking for money for land?
I don't know, I don't know that it's I think Canterbury is very, strong in this area.
It is, I'll agree with that.
So I think that we've come to think that a lot of other towns do it, but I don't think a lot of towns do that. I mean, obviously they do, but if you
Everybody
look
does
at
a
a map of
little
the
bit.
state, but there aren't a lot that,
I think what could stand out to somebody who's looking with a critical eye at this project is the fact that it's the missing piece.
that's,
Okay.
that's
Oh,
what I
that
was
fits
thinking.
perfectly, doesn't it?
That's the
It is.
value.
It is the only
Yeah.
missing piece, that
Yeah.
single parcel there, that the only unshaded piece is the parcel.
Yeah,
So that makes a huge connectivity, wildlife, adaptability, argument for that piece.
Well, all right, so have we decided we're gonna submit all three?
So I just wanna go back and ask the question again about the committee. Is there gonna be somebody that sticks with this for more than a few months, or is it, I know,
We have a track record,
yeah, I know you do, and a very good one.
but I think we're going to probably have to recruit some new people.
We have been talking for several months about the fact that the original work that the Canterbury Community Power Committee was designed to do, was intended to do, in our view, has been accomplished, because Canterbury is now part of the Community Power Coalition. We not only have successfully enrolled 98% of the residents in default service through Canterbury Community Power at a huge discount from the original rates. We're about to talk about going into the next 6 months, and there's a good story there too. But we don't have to meet as often as we did on those things. We do have a little bit of expertise that's been built up, and one of the first things that came up when Lenore talked about this at our last meeting was, was she prepared to put in some time to work on it? And this is the
I
result
always
of
say
that.
yeah.
And we thank you.
And she does have
Absolutely.
some experience with this.
yeah.
So, from my point of view, and we're not trying to corner the market on stuff that's going on in town related to energy. We've already talked about whether we should be collaborating with the Energy Committee on certain projects, but essentially trying to avoid overlap, or maybe even entertaining the idea of merging at some point. So we're not into the business of, looking for work. On the other hand, there's a lot of federal funding that's coming down the pike, and the people that are organized to apply for it and are getting the kind of guidance that this program offers are gonna have a head start
Yeah.
on doing something
Yeah.
really interesting. So I can't promise that we're gonna set up a little boutique shop in the Canterbury Community Power Committee and start turning out grant applications. But here's a process that we can get started with. And if it works, there will be people within that committee that become more experienced more qualified to do it. And yeah, Lenore's right, we will be looking for people to join us who are interested in this.
Yeah.
But man, I just, who knows, it may not go anywhere, but if it doesn't go anywhere, then we haven't lost much except about 45 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think from my standpoint, I would love to have a group with a track record of success like yours. We need somebody to sink their teeth into high-speed internet. We put out, I don't know if you saw in the town newsletter and in the town email, looking for interested parties to help form a committee. We literally had one person.
Oh, we have two now.
Oh, we have two now, so we've doubled our.
That's
interest.
committee.
So that would be item number one, just to consider. Item number two is I had a little accident in the farm this week. So I got to lay in one of my fields for a while because I was smart enough to bring my cell phone, but had no cell signal. So that, and I know there's, and I'm sure you're aware, there's a new cell tower going in at exit 17, which may help some of us, but I question whether it will help all of us. So that would be another thing to look at, I think at least, is cell coverage.
Is that the type of thing you could pick up money for or not?
Well, sure.
A lot of this money is for broadband.
Yeah,
A lot of it is.
Right, so we need both digital, cell phones, and we also need the Comcast, broadband. Because that's the number one complaint, I think, of everybody in town practically.
I think for me, what I hear as I go about my business here in town is high-speed internet and cell.
Yeah.
One and two, almost interchangeably. Just
Well,
thoughts out loud, that's all. at this
I
point.
caution that we can't do everything.
Understood.
So I think in order to get us started down this path, I think this program is the ideal training ground. We may find that none of us have the time or energy to put into this. I don't know at this stage. So I hesitate to promise too much, except that if we were to go through and actually be accepted into the program with the help of somebody who's knowledgeable to get at least one project funded, then I think the door is open to do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Really, and I think Canterbury is so well known for being pretty innovative and upfront about what it wants to accomplish, that, I'm thinking that we could develop in a proposal format a whole thing about the town and why it's a perfect place to get this money for things like a new cell phone tower and
Yeah.
all of that, but I hesitate to say we can be all things. to
Understood,
all
yeah,
people,
because they're big projects.
Yeah,
Ken, I know, has been working on internet for years,
yeah.
and it's so difficult to make any headway, really. It's frustrating. Here we are, literally, the next town north of the state capitol. And, when we moved in, 3.3 megabits per second, which is dial-up speed.
Terrible.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Can I say an answer to this question about responsibility for carrying it through, et cetera? If the land project were to happen, I would make it my responsibility to, write the narratives of the quarterly reports and provide the financial information. But the fact is the grant would be to the town and not to me, not to the Conservation Commission, so Ken's not gonna get off scot-free, no matter how much work we're all willing to do.
Yeah,
And I know that they're a bear, because we get a lot of federal funding at the organization I work at, and it's a pain, but, so I would be prepared to do my bit on getting information to you in a timely way, so you could file those end of quarter reports, but ultimately.
and I have to lobby the state legislature to allow retirees to work more than 30
exactly,
hours.
yeah.
There's that
Yeah.
problem, yeah. And then also, I can't quite put myself out there as a volunteer to become like involved in a variety of other federal applications. Probably unrealistic.
Yep.
Just to be frank.
So if you had a committee that's under the town's purview, I'm guessing that might help or be satisfactory to you, because as a town, we expect you to meet however you decide you need to meet, but we also want agendas so we know what you're talking about. And we want minutes from the meetings within a short period of time, so that everybody on, all of our committees do this for part of their thing, and they elect their own, or do we elect,
Depends on,
the board?
some committee members are appointed, some are elected. So
Right.
it
So we
depends
have
on what
you
it is.
sign a
This
little
would
thing
probably
saying you're,
Most
this
likely be
committee
an
is you.
appointed committee.
And, you know, I don't think it commits you to a whole lot, but it gives the town a handle on how to work with you, I think.
Well, that's why I think this should begin within the Canterbury Community Power Group, because we've already done all of that.
Yeah.
And we have a structure, and we get our minutes posted, and we do all of those things.
Yeah.
Now, once we get into this, if we're chosen, we may find that that's not an appropriate structure, I don't know.
And we can keep talking.
Well, and it may become that,
Yeah,
there are obviously professional grant writers that are available for hiring.
Right.
And it may become that, then that committee or a group of people decides, well, this is way bigger than what we could do ourselves. We need to hire somebody to assist us or do it for us.
Right, well, that's gonna be one of my questions if we get into it, how do we write into every
Right.
grant some amount of money that then
Mhm.
goes toward hiring somebody?
Sure.
And it may be part-time forever, but it would be somebody who would be
Yep.
helping you out, basically.
Right.
yeah.
And let's be clear, if it happened that all three of these proposals went in, and NHMA said, well, we like the land conservation piece, then CCPC is gonna step back and turn to Kelly.
Well, we don't have that expertise, none of us do, so
Agreed,
you have to be, the guy anyway, right?
Yeah.
So,
I still like the three proposal idea. I
Okay.
think that makes the most sense to me.
okay.
Do you need a selectman on this thing, or?
Well, the part of what they stressed in the webinar was they wanna see commitment from the town.
Yeah.
My name on it, I've put my name as contact person on all three, just because it's easier. But I think they wanna see the government involved.
It
So
could be either one of the three of you, or it could
I
be
think
Kelly.
we can, but I don't know, you need to decide.
I think it ought to be a selectman, at least initially, while we get this off the ground.
Probably would be better initially and then see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times now, a lot of the things that I do, I sign a lot of the paperwork, but there are some things that I sign that I have to get permission from the Board of Selectmen to sign, or authorization. And that may be the way this might go, is have them initially, one of them be the name on it, and then the signature might be mine, but authorized by the selectmen. Yeah.
Sure.
And we already have an account for making applications to federal government.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have all of the federal ID numbers,
Yeah.
SAMS.gov, all that, that was why I had to get a authenticator on my phone so I could log in.
Pretty soon you're
But
gonna.
we're doing that now anyway, but that's how my first experience with that was with the federal government, yeah.
So I'm hearing yes from the select board,
Okay,
and I'm hearing that, you're gonna form a committee, and you're gonna call yourself something, and I don't mind putting myself up for it, or you, whichever.
That works for me, cause
We're not gonna form a new committee.
I'm not saying you are, Howie, I'm just saying you're gonna figure out how this is gonna be governed, and how you're gonna report to the town, and where you're gonna hold your meetings, all those kind of things,
yeah, which we can do.
which, yeah, I know you,
Yeah,
whoever is gonna do it.
Oh,
Well, I know, I
I
understand
need
people that
help
get
if I'm
driven.
gonna be, I'm gonna do a lot of the work,
Yeah.
but I can't do this alone. I said this to Howie, but I just can't do it alone.
Yeah,
it's too much for one
It
person.
is,
I think if we put our minds together, we can find some help, probably.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And people who might be excited about this idea.
Exactly.
All right, so who's the lucky name I'm gonna put? Ken, okay. There it is. And I don't know that we need anything else tonight from you.
Okay.
But I will get this submitted probably tomorrow on the holiday,
Okay,
just so I don't have to worry about the deadline,
Yeah.
you know?
good, thanks for coming in.
Hey,
okay. Now, if I can take 1.5 more minutes, just to bring you up to date on some things relating to, community power. I think you got the email that I sent out on Friday
Yep.
afternoon, so
Was
you
very
know
happy to see it.
new rates.
Yep.
But there's been an interesting development on that, because as of today, we learned that community power, the Granite Basic 10.9 cent rate going forward for the next 6 months, not only beats Unitil and Eversource, it beats Liberty as well, but they're not on our map, but it also beats the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, which really surprised me.
Yeah.
What's your director say about that?
Wow.
Well, I haven't talked with our new CEO, but he used to procure power for the New
Yep.
Hampshire Electric Co-op. And I'm not sure, I'm not saying he had anything to do with the way this came out, because we followed our own procedures in the Community Power Coalition to get there. And I'm not sure he was even privy to the interior workings of NHEC at this point. But it tells me that we're on the right track. And the other thing I wanted to say, just so that you all know about it, is that you'll remember that when we first came in and we were talking about the rates that were gonna be set in the first period, which turned out to be only for Canterbury, a month and a half long, we talked about two kinds of community benefits. One was the rate reductions, the savings in the rates, and that shakes out, started out at 15.8 cents, now it's 10.9 for Granite Basic, and it goes up a little bit from there for the renewables. But the total community benefit in that first tranche was 40% given to rate savings and 60% given to reserve funds.
Yep.
It's gonna be flipped in the next 6 months going forward. And what they're gonna do now for the next 6 months, August to January, is devote 75% of that profit margin, basically, for a nonprofit. 75% of it is gonna go to the rate savings and 25% to reserves. I think the way to think about this going forward is that everybody within the leadership of the Community Power Coalition is putting an emphasis on saving money for customers first, and it happens that we made more progress in the first utility accounting period on building up the enterprise reserves, so we're getting there faster than we thought we were, and so not as much money needs to go into the reserve, the allocated reserves. Anyway, just two little pieces to keep you updated on what's been happening, but we'll keep track of this and we'll keep you posted as there are further developments.
Sounds good.
So,
Thanks.
thanks.
What phone number do you want me to put?
603-731-8863.
Great.
Do you know the co-op, what their rate is going to be? I'm just
The New
curious.
Hampshire Electric Co-op?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be 11.4 cents. the default rate.
Wow.
So we're
Pick
gonna-
up more down on the Intervale, or any down the Intervale, or?
Well, you know, I don't wanna start aggressively, trying to poach people from the co-op. They do a good
Yeah,
job
they do.
of serving the people in the Intervale.
Yeah.
But if anybody from the we're gonna put this out, we'll put it in the town email,
So it's available to them too.
so they'll know about it. And if they come to us, we'll say, you're welcome to opt in if you want to. Going forward, anybody is gonna be able to either opt in, opt out, opt up, opt down.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get 30 days notice of any change in rates. So they can do that at any point, but I don't wanna be soliciting
Yeah.
NHEC customers. We're doing fine,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and if they wanna come on board, they're welcome, and, if they're happy where they are, then we got no reason to try to upset them.
Tell them to put the internet cable down there if they would.
Well-
I asked them and they said.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody knows that the co-op has made a big push on broadband, but it's not gonna be serving their Canterbury customers.
Yep.
So, okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we all done with minutes?
Yep.
Going to correspondence.
Correspondence from NHDES about potential violation.
Yep, got a letter received from NHDS on a potential violation at 128 Picard Road. This is a property across from Huey's. Joel went down, we received a few complaints on it last year. Joel went down, took a look, contacted the property owner, asked them what was going on. The guy's clearing some land for a paddock for horses, got some containers in there to put hay and stuff in. And he's got, 4 or 5 little mini excavators or skid steers and other
Oh,
things.
yeah,
back
I've seen
there.
this, yep.
And he had advertised a couple for sale on a couple, whatever, Facebook Marketplace or
Yeah.
whatever. But he's not in the business of being a dealer or anything like that. He just had some equipment, he wanted to sell the old stuff and update. Apparently somebody made a complaint, and so they're gonna investigate it, so just figured.
What's the nature of the violation, potential
Potential
violation?
wetlands violation.
What's that mean, he dug in the water or
Filling.
filling?
Plain alleges that you were your agent of dredge and fill wetlands without a permit.
Okay.
So do we need to do anything with this?
We don't do anything with it, DES investigates and
Okay.
has a finding, so. Password manager proposal. So I'm not sure if you know what a password manager does.
I got one on my computer, doesn't work, but only if I remember my password, so it's that last step.
So as you know, we're gonna be audited by the federal government, year coming up. So I've been working with Kathleen to figure out the MFA system, multi-factor authorization. And this is one of the things that she came up with was the password manager proposal.
Yeah.
There is a cost to this, and there's 3 different companies that we can go with.
Is this going on my phone, or where's it going?
No, this is something for, I guess, the employees really.
It could go on a phone.
Yeah.
There have desktop applications and phone applications.
Is this like password, or?
It's exactly what you have, Kent. You've got Bitwarden, is that right?
Yeah.
So Bitwarden is actually one of the options.
Okay.
The main difference is that you have a personal account and this would be a business account, which means that an administrator could control the accounts of all of the employees. So
Gotcha.
they can ensure that there's proper strength of passwords, there's
Yeah.
2FA implemented in places where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And they can also do things like revoke access, so if
Yep,
somebody leaves
if
the
we-
town,
yeah.
you just take that away. You can also do shared vaults, which is a use case in here.
Yeah. How many users? I'm just curious because certain people, police department, fire department,
Yep.
I'm trying to remember.
So, I don't know what the count is on our email, right now.
Yeah.
Greg's got one, I think.
Yeah, you know, there's the planning board, the ZBA, the,
Yep,
HDC, I have to
Yeah,
look at all of
yeah.
them. It must, I guess we're probably around either 25 or 30.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, so a manageable number.
yeah, this is not something that's, and basically how it has worked historically is Jan and I are administrators for it.
Yep.
Have been administrators for it. And we are able to go in and issue new, passwords,
Yep,
things like that, revoke.
right, cause I remember, I don't know if you do,
Yeah,
probably a year ago, I was having trouble.
yep,
and
yep.
You
yep.
reset my password, it was all good after
Sure,
that, yeah.
sure. So it's not, I don't think the continuing administration of it is not difficult.
Yeah.
Once the system is in place and everybody is familiar with it, becomes familiar, there'd be a learning curve, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
After that,
We
it's,
do two-factor at work.
after that, it's,
Yeah.
the maintenance is, as people leave or as they come and go,
Yeah,
that's really the main end, maintenance with it, but, you know, or if there's a technical glitch somewhere along the
Yeah.
line, similar to what you had.
Yep, yep.
Just changing the password and,
Yeah.
that took care of itself.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be an added burden on you too, or? Okay.
I
Just
mean,
for the setup,
yeah,
but I've
yeah,
Yeah.
done this before at previous companies, so I know how to go about it.
yeah. Any recommendation?
I recommend that you do it.
No, I meant more specific than, so, you know,
Or you're gonna get whipped if you
yeah.
don't, huh?
No, I meant as far as our choices of providers.
Between the choices, I think that Bitwarden would be just fine for our purposes. 1Password does have some extra features that make administration easier, but I don't know if that's really worth the extra
$1,000.
well, yeah.
Well, yeah,
In the end,
In
it's
the
an
end.
extra $1,000, it's $3 extra per user per month to use
Wow.
1Password versus
Okay.
Bitwarden. So,
What's
I would
Bitwarden gonna
say-
cost us then?
$5 per user per month, which for 30 users would be about $1,800 a year, if we have 30 users.
Yeah.
And we gotta do this, we gotta do something, huh?
I recommend that we do.
you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I know.
There are things that happen if you don't. It's just another method of protecting ourselves, our IT infrastructure and the town.
Do you need us to approve it, or what happens here?
I think this, did I email this to you guys?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
So one of the things that the proposal that got put together talks about the IT budget. And, right now, the total IT budget is 44,000. As of June 29th, we spent 10,000.
Yep.
There's that total budget involves software, things that we have to spend money on.
Yep.
You know, the, avatar tax software, things like that, we have updates. So, and we typically don't spend all of our money. I mean, the IT budget includes hardware and repairs.
Yep.
We have a service plan with Cybertron for the town office, but that does not extend to the fire, police, or highway.
Yep.
They're by the hour. So there's money in their budget for repairs or things like that, but, and we typically don't overspend those budgets.
Yep.
So, as far as budgeting, at least for this year, I think we'd be safe to say that we could find that money.
Yep.
That money is available, so.
Okay, do we need to do anything here?
motion or?
No, you don't need to
Okay.
make a motion on
Okay.
something, this is
Yeah.
really, it's kind of housekeeping things
Yep.
and.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Bitwarden is the preferred choice?
At least for now.
Okay, yeah,
It
Yeah.
is also very easy to switch from one to another. They all make it very easy because they like
Of course
to steal
they
each
do.
other's
Yeah.
customers.
offer you a special deal and,
Yes.
yeah,
Right, it's like the cell phone companies.
yeah, exactly.
You also get, once you get a representative, you can negotiate the price if you feel like it, especially like the larger the group gets. So
Yeah,
like if Canterbury suddenly had like 50 employees, we could probably get a discounted rate.
Good.
Which ties in a little bit with, our multi-factor authentication. And I had some questions, from a couple of the boards and committees on it. Because apparently there's they share a password. So, specifically the conservation, they have
okay,
a chair, they have two co-chairs instead of one chair.
yeah,
So the question was, how do they handle that? Because only one person can
yeah,
do this. I guess my recommendation after talking with Kathleen, would be that you would just say to the boards and committees that one person has the authorization.
yeah,
And that, if they need to, they can forward an email or however it works, whatever works best for them. But I think that if we're gonna do it for everybody, then everybody needs to do it.
agreed.
And
Yep.
we can't,
Yeah, cause we need 1 week link.
yeah, and that's all it would take, that's all it would
Yeah.
take. And so I think we need to say, we're sorry, but that's,
That's the way it's
we
gotta
have
be.
to do this,
Yeah.
so.
I agree.
Works worth.
Yeah. I think it's,
Yeah, and, our resident IT expert has put together a very, nice PowerPoint. And, again, I think you've been using it,
yep,
I've been using it, it's not hard to do.
no,
And if there are people that have any struggles at all with it, we have the ability to walk people through it.
yeah,
It's probably a 10-minute exercise
not very.
to get somebody done and explain to them and try it a couple of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And again, with the email, if you don't log out every time, then it's there, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But that's where we are with that.
I think it's a good idea.
Let's see. I think we're into the decision into old business now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, let's see what I have any more new business here. Waste oil, a couple of things real quick. Under new business, truck 3, one of the dump trucks, wouldn't start. They don't know what it is, they've tried everything and they can't get it started. And they're gonna bring it up to Laconia to get worked on.
How's it get up there?
They're gonna tow it,
Towed?
they gotta tow it,
Yeah.
yeah, Rusty's gonna
Yep.
tow it. I got an email from our health officer, she is resigning.
I saw that, yeah,
Is that Nadine?
yeah,
Yeah, she suggests the deputy, which is Jeff Hubble, take over. I haven't spoken with him yet to see if he's interested in it. He's been doing really good as the field person, they've kind of worked as a team. She did the administrative stuff and he did the field work. There isn't a lot of work that goes into this.
yeah,
Probably 2 or 3 times a year they get called on. So I'll talk to Jeff and see if he's
Yeah.
interested.
sounds good to me.
Me too.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see.
Before I forget it, when was that meeting with the Shaker Village?
That
Maybe
is Wednesday the 12th? Yes. Yes, Wednesday the 12th, and that is 10:30?
10:30,
10:30 a.m. Meeting with David Katz
up at the Sam Lake.
at the Sam Lake House, yes. And that day is also the New Freedom Academy is under new
Saw that.
management,
Yeah,
and they're hosting a open house, kind of greet and meet. And I, as well as the police chief, are planning on attending. I haven't had a chance to talk to the fire chief yet, I know he went up there and did some inspections and everything, but, I think that, they have expanded their operation up there, and I think that, I thought it would be a good idea to go up and, I've had discussions with the new owner, or the new CEO, about some of the problems we've had in the past up there, so he's aware. They're gonna do everything they can to hopefully, reduce the amount of issues that they've had.
Yeah, what time is that, Ken?
It's 11 AM to 1 PM,
Okay.
like
Should,
lunch.
should we be there, or one of us, or?
It's up to you guys, if you wanna come, like I say, I'm going, I know the police chief is going,
I think it would be a great idea for a
if, if
yeah,
one of you is available, that'd be great.
What day was that again?
That was the 12th again, next
Oh.
Wednesday,
What's the time then?
11 to 1, so we could meet with Mr. Katz, then drive out to
Yeah.
New Freedom Academy.
What's the meeting with the village about?
That is about general, operations,
Yeah.
I would say, it's a good,
and what time's that meeting, Ken?
that is at 10:30.
Tight schedule, okay.
He's one of the trustees and spoke with him, and
I
he just,
I talked to him, actually, Greg and I did.
Oh,
Trying to
good, yeah,
understand what he thought he
yeah,
could do and what we
Yeah.
could do, so.
yeah, and there's things, that, I know that the Historic District Commission, I talked to Kevin Bragg, and that's one of the, subjects that I'm gonna talk about is,
yeah,
contacting the HDC, because they are their own, that's part of the HDC.
yeah,
And that they really need to coordinate better with them when they're, planning expansions or doing things like that.
doing, yeah, yeah.
So,
Just curious, the, New Freedom open house, have they invited people that live in the
I
immediate
don't,
area?
I sent them, when I responded to the email,
Yeah,
I suggested that they contact the neighbors,
yeah,
and he said that they would send out mailers or do something.
I think it would be a great idea on their.
Hillary, be top one in my book.
Yeah, and that's, I have had discussions on the phone with them
Yep,
and
I think
explained
there's
things.
an opportunity there.
So I do.
Yes, I do too,
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll go a long way.
So the only other thing that's new business is, with the hiring of the new, deputy town clerk and the new administrative assistant, our town clerk tax collector asked me if we had anything in our personnel rules and regulations about confidentiality. And we don't. We
Interesting.
have personnel rules that address pretty much everything else.
Yep,
But we don't have any confidentiality statement agreement, so I came up with one.
Where
It's
does this,
pretty brief.
where does this lodge?
Well, our employees, and not just town office employees, but all of our employees, fire department, police department, highway, whatever, sometimes become aware of information that may be considered confidential,
Yeah.
either
absolutely.
morally,
Yep,
ethically, or
Yep.
legally. And really, it's incumbent upon us to ask, or to obligate our employees to keep that information confidential.
That can apply to us too, or?
It probably should be, I don't know how it works with elected officials. If an elected official does something that is, whatever, releases confidential information, unless it's a legal issue, I don't know there's much we can do about it. But with an employee, there's a disciplinary process.
Yep.
And if we make this part of the personnel rules and regulations, then if confidential information is leaked somehow and we find out, then we can apply discipline if needed.
Yeah.
It's one thing, again, for years, we've gone with, we're honest and upstanding citizens and good employees, and we've never, ever had a problem. But, the same as with our improvements in IT protection and everything, I think sometimes we have to look forward and say, well,
Yeah.
we've never had a problem, but you know what? Other places have, and maybe this is something we really need to think about, so. It's not something that I'm looking to get, if you guys wanna think about it, talk about it, whatever, fine.
I think it's a good idea.
I do too, I
really
mean,
do.
you've researched it to make sure we cover
Yep.
all the shit we need.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Looks fine to me.
Yeah, I
Alright.
say go for it.
Alright, so what I'll do is I'm gonna, I'll make this a amendment to our personnel policy, and I'll bring the paperwork to the next meeting, and you can sign it and do that.
I think that's a very good idea.
Alright. I think that's it for new business, and now we're into old business. And the number one thing is the decision on the proposal to accept the property that was,
Yep,
So I went out and walked around on it.
I was wondering if you did?
I didn't do the part towards the track, it looks from the road like it's wet.
Okay.
You might
Somebody
find-
else said that we had,
Mhm.
and I don't remember who it
Yes.
was.
Yeah, but I would
Yeah.
say I mean, it's 30 acres, I would say at least half, close to half it's dry.
Okay.
And it's got some big timber on it, if somebody wants to donate, I still don't understand that part of the process, but do we have to accept it like as a board, or do you accept
yeah,
it as?
no, you need to make a motion, there has to be a motion made to accept the property. And then we do the deed and all that, the deed transfer.
Okay, are we at that stage where
Yeah,
you need
as
that?
far as I know.
I make, well, are you ready?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I was gonna finish on what I was gonna say.
Yep.
The piece of land towards the north gate, it actually sort of wraps up to the north gate,
Yeah,
so
I drove by and looked at
Did you?
it from the road,
yeah.
so I
So
didn't walk.
It's a big square, but then over
Yeah.
here, it's got a little chunk that sticks out. That whole thing looks to be dry.
Okay,
You know, I don't know
Yeah.
why a storage facility couldn't go in there, or
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
yeah.
It's a perfect location for the track. But anyways, so I make a motion that we go ahead and accept the proposal from Barbara Bird to donate tax map 226 lot 2 to the town.
I'll second that motion.
Alright. I think the last thing, let's see,
Security camera.
Yep, the last thing I have is security cameras, so we signed gave the go-ahead to do the cameras.
Yep.
The install, we got a price to install the new cameras. The total package that was with the cameras, the installation and the installation of the test cameras comes to just under $9,000. My question is, we have $258,000 or around there in ARPA money.
Yep.
It can be used for anything. We have been holding on to it for broadband expansion.
Yep.
It doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look like that's gonna be a reality at this point.
When does that, there's gotta be an expiration date, right?
There is. We have to, by 2025, we have to have the money committed,
Yep,
and we have to spend the money by 2026.
okay, wow,
So we have 2 years,
yeah,
we have 1 year to commit the money,
yep,
and then we have another year to expend it.
Yep.
So, again, at this point, we have, if we spend this, we'll still have $250,000. The latest, figures that we got from Comcast were around $50,000 per mile mark, so that's not gonna get us a lot of money.
Nope.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, we have other things, I know, we talked about the dirt roads.
Yeah.
I've talked with John and Evan about that. It's, John figured that every dirt road in this town could use 6 inches or more of material.
Well, and the ditches,
I know.
So-
keep doing the ditches
I
until we get.
think that's, you know, and
We just did this,
that's
4 inches of rain, where do you see the damage
well,
on these
yeah,
roads?
of course, yeah.
It's crazy.
But that's, you know, we've been adding a dump truck load here, a dump truck load there to fix the to do repairs.
Yeah.
We've never, and when they grade, some of the material gets
Hmm.
brought up in the ditches and it goes away. because it gets mixed in with leaves and everything, you can't put that back on the road. So you have to remove it. So, over the years, I mean, how long have we been doing this, that where we haven't added any substantial amount of material back?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you can see Pickard,
yeah,
spots is down.
yeah. I mean, you have a stone wall that's
Yeah.
3 feet up in the air.
Yeah,
And certainly grade takes into account some of that, but in other places where you look at it and you say the grade's good over here, the
Yeah.
grade's over here,
yeah,
the road's a foot lower. That's because of what we've been doing, and we haven't been able to add material back because of the
Yeah.
cost of material.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, the group that came here tonight, seemed like they have a lot of ambition, and maybe they can help us solve the broadband initiative. I know that, in speaking with our representative from Comcast, he was hoping that the brick money might get awarded, and I saw that the BEA did finally, they are opening applications up, or they're finalizing the rules. So, hopefully that brick money, whatever it is, $90 million is still left, or
Yeah.
something like that, is gonna become available before the next, I guess, wave of federal money, which, is slated for another year from now. That's part of what Lenore was talking about tonight, was there's gonna be a wave of money next year, and then another wave the following year.
yeah.
So,
I guess the other question that I thought of while you were speaking tonight was, should Canterbury consider hiring that consulting firm? And if so, I guess what's the cost, and
yeah.
do they make us any kind of guarantees or promises, or?
I can talk to Mike, from Central New Hampshire, and Steve, because this consulting company that Pittsfield Loudon hired was, brought in from the NHMA.
Okay,
And offered to municipalities and
Yeah.
members of NHMA.
yeah,
And some towns hired them and some towns didn't.
yeah.
We didn't hire them.
I'd love to know the company's track record of success.
Yeah. They have a pretty good website. I looked at their website.
What's the name of the company?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. I don't remember.
If you
I'll have to
think
go
about
back.
it, shoot me a text.
I will,
Yeah.
I'll let you
Yeah.
know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're out of Bangor, Maine,
Yeah.
and again, that's their sole focus
Yeah,
is helping small municipalities, and they do it not just in New England, they've
Yeah.
expanded elsewhere, so.
yeah, and certainly there have been towns more rural than ours that have been very successful at getting high speed, and I'd love to know how they did it.
I would too, I
Yeah.
would too. Same with cell service.
Yeah.
Which I did speak with representative from Verizon.
Yeah.
Met with him at the safety complex on last Thursday. We're looking to switch out of US Cellular and either go to Verizon or T-Mobile.
Yeah.
I talked to both, I've given them both RFPs, and part of the conversation was some kind of tower or booster or something on our municipal building to improve the cell service, at least in the center.
Yeah,
What
So
was their reaction?
they were gonna send it to their engineers. I don't know what, I told them, I was very blunt with them that their maps show that Canterbury is covered. And I said, it is
it's
not.
not, yeah,
I said, go stand out in the parking lot away from the booster that's in this building right now
exactly,
and try and get a signal.
you won't,
I said,
yeah,
you'll get maybe one bar, but that's all you're gonna get.
yeah,
And I said, that doesn't work for I said, especially if we're talking about public safety. I said, that does not work for public safety anymore.
You
Yeah.
can't call out of the dump at all,
And,
right?
well,
probably not even here.
I just got a
Yes,
text and I tried to send a reply
Yeah,
and it failed.
Yeah.
So, that's a text,
Yeah.
not even a phone call.
yeah, and I
So-
can tell you, as I was laying in my field the other night,
Yeah,
I'm the perfect example.
right.
No signal.
And I think most people, maybe not most people, but a lot of people are going away from hardline phones.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have.
We did
one.
too.
Yeah,
When we left Canterbury,
Yeah.
we don't have hardline phones
yeah.
anymore.
You probably don't even know what a hardline phone is, do you?
Oh, what a hard one.
How about a dial up, do you know how to do that?
I don't know how to do that.
But there's a lot that don't.
So, I don't know with Verizon or T-Mobile if they're gonna be able to help us out. I know we talked with US Cellular when we contracted with them on town phones,
Yeah.
and they came out and they were gonna look at it and try and do something, and they never did.
And exit 17, I
Yeah.
don't know exactly where that's going.
I don't know.
I've got an idea.
I don't know, yeah.
And I don't know what that's gonna mean for anyone.
I don't either,
Canterbury,
I
yeah.
don't either, yeah.
So,
So, with the security cameras, this money, do you think I should use that ARPA money, commit some of that money to that, or?
I guess so, I just,
I
I
mean, it's
wanna
either
spend
that-
as much of it as I can on those roads.
It's,
That's my
it's,
thing.
it's, either that or we dip into that, building fund
Yeah.
some more, so. Whichever your pleasure
Six and a
is.
half dozen the other, isn't it?
yeah.
We'll still have 250 left.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and use the money out of the ARPA.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that need a motion or anything?
No, no. I think that's all I have, other than Jan's last day is Thursday.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
We're gonna have a small cake.
Cool. What time?
Noon time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can maybe sneak out.
She shows up.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Webb's up in Canada, so
Oh,
she's
well,
chomping at the bit to
to
head
go
up
up,
there.
yeah, I don't blame
Yeah.
her. We talked a little bit at her, party about that very topic, so, you know, that's good, that's.
Okay, anything else?
No, the only thing, you know, as I said, would be, investigation of the, consultant for broadband.
Yep,
Would
I'll
be
do that.
A great thing.
I will do that.
Other than that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.